All right, it is afternoon now. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Create Challenge Finals. My name is Hosea Su. I took off my tour guide hat earlier, and now I'm your Create Challenge host. My name is Hosea. Normally, my day job is actually, I'm a researcher here at MIT, but on my nights and weekends, and sometimes even on Friday mornings, I get to do something that's oftentimes a little bit more fun, which is to help you all create really, really cool products that help people with disabilities, right? So the Create Challenge is a really, really awesome challenge. So we thank you all very much for participating in it. Now, we also have the folks on Zoom, actually. So everyone here, you see there are cameras back there if you want to look back and then wave for our Zoom audience. Hi, Zoom audience. Welcome as well for our folks at home. We also have a number of people joining us remotely. So I just want to first do a bit of an introduction. I know you all know what the Create Challenge is, but I think there are a bunch of people in the audience who are new to this. So I want to just sort of step them through what it took you to get here, as well as remind you all of the steps that you took to get here. So what is the Create Challenge? The Create Challenge is really about STEM education. It's about accessibility awareness, and it's about inclusive design. And it's a program that we've been running. This is our third year running it, and this is the second year we've been doing it in person. The first year where we purposely did it in person. Last year we did it because Summit High School over in Tennessee told us, yeah, you have to do something in person. Our kids really, really want to come. So I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it. This year we actually planned it from the beginning. So that's why you're all here. This program involves engineering by students with people in their communities. It's a distributed program, distributed for 30 teams across the United States. It's virtual. So we have virtual course components. We also have in-person components where, of course, you all worked with people from your communities, and of course, it's community-based, right? We are not, so I learned actually when I was in school here that it is useful to define what your thing is, and it is also useful to define what your thing is not. What are we not? We are not designed for hypothetical problems. We are not a pitch competition. None of you are here to like ask, I'm here to sell you 20% of my company for $300,000. Not interested. Solve one person's problems. We are also not concerned about the market. This is actually something that's really important here. We recognize that there definitely is a market for accessibility and for assistive technology, but we find that it's a little bit difficult to try to grasp that. And it's a little bit easier when you're doing product design, particularly for the first time, to focus really down on one person. Understand their problems really well, solve their problems really well. And oftentimes, when we're talking about disability technology, it's because their problems are not things that are well addressed by the market anyway, right? So hence, we're not concerned about the market. We asked you questions about scalability at the end, but they actually don't. It's just sort of a curiosity of ours. It's not something that we're concerned about. At the very beginning of the Create Challenge, I presented to you sort of the goals of the challenge, and I presented to you the learning objective. As an educator, I was told that I had to have a list of learning objectives, and there was one that I put up at the very, very top, which is students will be able to practice caring for people in their communities, to understand their values, lives, and goals, with special consideration for the challenges they face due to disabilities. Okay. And then I said some things about engineering design. I said some things about engineering design processes, and I said some things about prototyping and whatnot. All of those are very important, but this is the primary objective. Now, I will point out to you that if you have met this primary objective, you can judge for yourself whether you have met this primary objective, then congratulations, you have successfully completed the Create Challenge. We welcome you back next year. If you do not feel that you have successfully completed this challenge, we also welcome you back next year to try again. It's okay, right? Sometimes it can be difficult and there can be logistical challenges, and we understand this. But you all are here because you're committed to what you're doing. So I would like to think the vast majority of folks are doing this primary learning objective quite well. That's good. We're doing good education things. Let's talk about how we actually got here. So there are two big components of the Create Challenge, the course, which of course we had sort of major components about disability, about engineering design processes, about maker skills, and then I have this ... because the course is, not so secretly, extraordinarily incomplete. And what do I mean by that? because you're going to approach your co-designer, you're going to talk to them about what it is that you need to build, what it is that you need to do to address their challenges, and then you're going to realize, oh no, I need to learn C++. Oh no, I need to learn woodshop. Oh no, I need to learn to 3D print a joint. That's not in our course line. That's not in our course materials. If we had included everything, we would include probably a 6-year engineering education there. So we can't, right? So there's a good chunk of this course where you are figuring out what you need for yourselves. We have found that people have been very successful about that. Some of that has involved talking to your teachers, talking to your local coaches, your remote mentors, and doing a lot of Googling, and I imagine having long and deep conversations with ChatGPT about how exactly to fix this bug, right? So we recognize that there's a lot of stuff that we don't include. We recognize that there's a lot of stuff that you've had to learn on your own, really largely without our help. Good job. The second part is the project, and the project is where you had to work with what we call a co-designer. The co-designer is the person, typically the person with a disability, who is bringing a challenge to you from their day-to-day living, right? Where they bring to you some, here are the things I would like to do in my day-to-day, here's what I cannot do about it that I would like to change. And then you are working with them, you do an interview, you do a brainstorming, you come up with 6 brilliant ideas, you throw away 7 of them, and then you come out with your 8th idea, right? There is, just for the people who weren't aware, there's a design, build, test, repeat process. They have to do 4 design reviews, 2 peer reviews, they had to arrange that on their own, and they had to do 2 remote mentor reviews, so they got really good at recording these presentations on Zoom and other types of software. And then they had to submit 1 final video and document. So this is like pretty extensive. There's actually a fair amount of this that is about communicating their ideas, right? Just because you have a brilliant idea trapped in your head and maybe trapped in your garage doesn't mean that we know about it. So the teams are here because they've not only had a brilliant idea in their rooms, in their garages, in their heads, but also have communicated that sufficiently so that we understand what's going on. Okay? So really, this is real local problems and real local solutions. No hypotheticals, no classes of people. I used to say like, okay, you can't have, the community of deaf people is not a co-designer. Tom, who lives 3 blocks away at this address, who I know from soccer, is a co-designer, right? So you're working with not classes of people, you are working with people, okay? All right. So I think that's all I really have to say about sort of the introduction to the course. Congratulations all for making it here. We will get an excellent little certificate that will be signed by a bunch of important people, I'm sure. Yeah, so let's move into our sort of schedule. All right, so for our schedule, we are going to have a finalist showcase where we have our little Q&A. We're going to have a finalist showcase where we have video, and then Q&A. And just to make it fair for the people who are joining us remotely, we're going to play the videos that you all have submitted remotely. That will then be followed by approximately 4 minutes of Q&A. Our judges are up here. We'll ask them to introduce themselves in a moment. And then we will move over to the next teams. Actually, quick question. Raise your hand if you're on the finalist list and you're here. Okay, right. Chem Demons and Senior Buddy. Right. Okay, cool. Okay, first and third. Okay, cool. Thank you. Right. So we'll do this. We'll have an alumni presentation from Team Izzy. This is so interestingly, we offered an alumni division for folks who wanted to work on kind of a similar problem as last year with additional help. So Team Izzy took that up, and they did something pretty cool. We'll have them show that as well. And then we will kick the judges out of the room while they deliberate in secret. And then we'll have them come back and tell us about what the results of their judging is. Okay? All right. So just do a quick round of introductions for the judges. And I'm going to ask the judges maybe tell us who you are and tell us maybe 1 or 2 sentences about yourself. In relation to Beaverworks, in relation to assistive technology, disability, thereabouts. Maybe we'll start with Bob.
Hi.
Yeah, but
Yep. Hello everyone. I'm Bob Shin. I'm the officially Beaver Baller #1, in case you don't know that. I am the former director of MIT BeaverWorks. I'm actually founding director of MIT BeaverWorks, but currently I'm the MIT BeaverWorks STEM program director. And I've been involved with this whole assistive technology challenges with Hosea for over 10 years. So I'm really happy to be here.
Hi everyone, Raquel Ronzone. As a visual description, I am a 36-year-old woman with short black curly hair, mixed Filipino woman. Today I'm wearing a black denim jacket, a black polo shirt, and dark jeans. I focus on partnerships in disability tech at the Howe Innovation Center at Perkins School for the Blind. I've came to Create through Hosea after meeting him at a hackathon, Hack Disability, that we at the Howe Innovation Center ran here last year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Unju Pak. I'm a PhD student at Northeastern, where I research design and disability, but primarily I have a focus on neurodiversity.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren McMahon. I'm an occupational therapist at Boston Children's Hospital in the Augmentative Communication Program. The program focuses on assistive technology for individuals who have a hard time accessing technologies and communication, who are non-speaking or have trouble speaking. So I look to see how to match people with eye gaze or switch-based systems. Outside of that, I teach assistive technology at Tufts University, and I'm a co-chair of the Intercollegiate Hackathon that happens every year here in Boston, pairing local universities together for projects similar to this, where you get assigned a co-designer and you're able to make technologies over the course of the week.
all right, thank you to our judges. As you can see, we have quite a diverse range of expertise in our judging panel, matching the diverse range of projects that we have here for the challenge. So let's see. I think there was one last thing that I wanted to say. Right. I want to just draw a quick contrast before we begin videos with some other challenges that you may have that you may be doing in school. Right. Some of you are familiar with FIRST Robotics, and some of you are familiar with maybe Science Olympiad or these other programs, great programs. One thing that I'm going to point out to you that, one, we're not really a competition, right? You make your own prize. The most important prize that you can make in the Create Challenge is the product that you make with your co-designer. And if you are truly successful, then you can give it away. If you can't, try again, right? That is really the most important prize that you can take away from the Create Challenge. And the most important thing that you can learn from the Create Challenge is that you have these people in your lives who have difficulty with their day-to-day lives. There are things that you can do to help, right? So if you take away nothing else from this challenge, if you learn nothing else from these videos, or you learn nothing else from any of the awards that might come out at the very end, just remember that. And that's the most important thing from the challenge. And you will meet learning objective #1. Okay? All right, any questions before we get started with videos and Q&A? Okay, excellent. Then we're going to start with Team 305, Senior Buddy. Like I mentioned, we're going to play the video, and then you two can come up here. When you're doing Q&A, I'm going to hand you the mic. And we'll go from there. You have about 4 minutes for that. All good?
The Senior Buddy app team.
I'm Yaman. I'm from Clinton, Massachusetts.
I'm Kauthar. I'm from Worcester.
I'm Reem, and I'm from Westboro.
Our co-designer is Muna. She is also Yaman's grandmother, and she is 72 years old. Her first language is Arabic, although she does speak English. Her main challenge currently is understanding medical reports, and that's what we're helping her with using our app. Our first interview was around 30 minutes. We made sure to have this interview in a comfortable place for Muna. Our interview was split into 2 sections. One section where we discussed primary needs and challenges that she addressed, and also the second part addressed secondary challenges that she mentioned. We also created need statements that we are going to use in our app. The product uses contrasting colors, large fonts, minimal options, stable interactions, reminder, and audio summaries. All of these are to enhance Muna's access to the app. Our project scope was challenging because not everybody in our team knows how to code except for Yaman. Lastly, our project objective is our app must create medical report digests in a simpler, clearer, and more accessible way for Muna to utilize and understand within a simple interface.
So a quick flowchart of our app idea. So what it's going to do is going to show two buttons for the user to open a PDF or an image of their medical report. So that's going to be for hard copy if it's the image. It's going to be sent over to ChatGPT. It's going to add escape characters to color, highlight, bold it, etc. It's going to go in and it's going to be parsed. It's then going to be shown on screen. There's going to be audio for it. Then there's also going to be a button to create calendar reminders for any actions that Mona needs to take after reading the report. And then our first prototype, it was built using Kotlin and Android Studio, and we just addressed a few key user needs, some primary ones like color, font size, and summaries. And then here's a visual example of our first prototype. You can see here there's an option to select PDFs or images, and then it's going to be converted over to text, colored, and then here's an example of a color actually being used. So you see it's green for actions that Mona needs to take, and then here you can also see the summary of key points. So select the test report. Now give it a sec to load. There you go. Yeah. So you can increase and decrease the font size with pinching. Yep, just there you go. Then you can go to the key info, shorter summary. Definition. Yeah, definitions. Those are for your complex medical terms. And our second interview, I guided Mona through the process of using the app, and she liked some things about it, but she also gave us some suggestions shown on screen. And now for our final prototype, which was done after that interview, we had a list of complex medical term definitions. We had a carousel of instructions on how she can use the app. The reminder button was actually functioning, as you can see here, created medical reminders inside the calendar app. So right now there are no events in the calendar. So Mona, if you want, switch over to the app. Yep, and now press the Remind Me button to make those reminders. Reminders created successfully. Now you can go back. And there are all of the reminders for this test medical report. And even April 10th, May 10th, it's spaced out 1 month, just like it says here, so it can also work with time differences. And then there's Arabic available for her now, which she communicated would be the most important thing for her in the second interview. Then there's audio, and then all the digests are saved locally.
Patient name, Angela Rivera. Date of birth, the 12th of March.
Yep, so now try it in Arabic. It's the volume button right there.
اسم المريض أنجيلا ريفيرا. تاريخ الولادة.
So our Resolve project risks. Mona was still having trouble with the report digest in English. However, after implementing Arabic, she said she'd use it for all medical reports. Mona was having trouble understanding the difficult medical terms in full summary digest. However, now the app generates a simple definition of the medical terms in both languages. Mona also struggled with taking the pictures of the hard copy reports and remembering how to use the app. So we created a rotating set of visual instructions. So for the future risk of our project, we use ChatGPT to process the medical reports, which in turn may make mistakes that could lead the patient to misunderstand the report and how to act, and also leave out important details, and of course the security and privacy of the patient, since we are storing sensitive medical data, which should be addressed in the production.
So thank you very much. In this competition, it was very useful to learn how to structure meaningful solutions for people with need statements, product requirements, and good documentation.
So I guess a question. So you clearly identify the risk. First of all, this is a great project and challenging, but very doable, clearly very useful. So great job. But you identify the risks. What are your plans for mitigating those first two risks, accuracy and the wrong summary?
Do you want to take this? Or?
I mean, to make it more accurate, we could use other APIs to go through the process. But how we used it now is we made smaller, made ChatGPT take smaller portions and process it at a time, so that it's more if we give it all at once, it's not gonna focus and give us the right answer. So do you want to?
Yeah, so the thing with APIs, like the GPT one, like with large language models, when you're giving it like everything at once and you're telling it to create those 3 different digests, like make definitions, key points, and make that full summary, it's more likely to make a mistake. So what we did is like segmentation, where we're splitting it up and giving it smaller tasks, and we can split it up even more in the future to minimize those risks of error and accuracy.
When you're looking at the calendar, it all goes in under the same time. Is that for her to then go in next and change how things are supposed to be on certain days or weekly tasks, seeing that it goes in as an event rather than a task if it says something like monitor blood pressure?
Yeah, so in that specific case with the calendar, sometimes in the reports there isn't clear info about when that reminder should be made. So if it says like change dosage now to 3,000 milligrams of antibiotics or whatever, it's just going to make that reminder automatically like a couple hours later or like whenever works for her. So she doesn't have to go back in and change it. Whenever there is like even a slight amount of information, it can create reminders based on that. Like you saw, it said like, oh, 1 month from now, call the doctor or whatever the reminder was, and it made it exactly a month from when it was created. So yeah.
Something that was mentioned in the documentation, but not necessarily the video, was that Munna also handles her husband's health needs. Did you kind of think about what that app experience might look like when you're handling multiple people, their health documentation, etc.?
Yeah. Do you want to take this? Or?
I mean, the difference, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to take a picture of the report, but the name is going to be different. Like, it's going to tell you this is, like, you have an appointment. Munna has an appointment, blah, 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 or, like, her husband's name.
Yeah, those reports, to add on a little bit, they're saved locally inside the phone. So whenever Munna wants, she can open it, show her husband, because it, like Reem said, it records the names of the people that are going to be using it. So,
this is Raquel. In the course of asking for her feedback for design review, what appointments or tasks did she have to do, and how did the testing of the app resonate with her for handling that real-world scenario?
So we ended up, so for our testing in the second interview, we took a lot of her older medical reports. We didn't try it on any newer ones, but she like pointed out to us, these are the reports that I find difficult to understand, and put it into the app. So we tested out like about 4 of them with her. She's like, she really liked the colors. She liked that key point summary that was created. So she's like, yeah, this definitely is going to work for me, and I would love to use it with future reports. But in that second interview, we also didn't have Arabic yet, and she said that she would use it for literally every report in the future if it had Arabic, and that's what we did. So
that's great. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So our presentation is called Exercise with Hugo. Well, about us, we are a group of 5 members of the ATC club at Thomas Jefferson Hospital for Science and Technology in Northern Virginia, and it brings us a lot of joy to help others succeed, especially using technology like this. My name is Fikr Ashnafi, and I'm a junior.
I'm Johan Ramirez, I'm a junior. I'm Chirag Singha, I'm a sophomore.
So who is our co-designer? Our co-designer is Hugo. We connected with him through one of the members of our club, Austin, and we learned from Austin and Hugo's parent, that he is a student with autism. He is a nonverbal. He cannot, he has trouble speaking sometimes, or a lot, and has a caretaker as well to help him with day-to-day tasks. And one of his long-term goals is to have fun with exercise independently. And at the moment, he uses a personal trainer, but he wants us to create an app that helps him exercise on his own. And as you can see to the left of the photo, that's Hugo. So what is our objective? Well, our objective is to create a visually guided interactive system that is specifically for Hugo, and designed for him to stay engaged, follow instructions more clearly, and participate in physical activity safely. And the system will incorporate clear visual cues, step-by-step guidance, and interactive elements to support his unique needs, while at the same time tracking his progress.
So we've had a few different plans. Originally, we planned to make it Smart Cube that would allow him to make his own randomized workout. But from an interview, we learned that Hugo likes routines and not randomized exercises. We settled on a website where he could upload his own exercise and create a routine based on it. And yeah, they love the website, but they just wanted us to add a way for them to add their own exercises to the website as well.
So here is a part of our physical component. So originally we wanted physical component to be a sort of stabilizer about those exercises, but we ended up seeing that wasn't possible, so we replaced it with a motivation device instead. As you can see in the GIF on the left, that's our first iteration. We had the lights faced away from him. They were only flashing when he wasn't moving, so that would motivate him to keep moving. And also the battery wasn't on well. But so after our results of our testing, we decided to make the qualitative change to make the whole thing more secure with more of the sports flex wrap, make the battery more secure as well, and point the lights towards him, because he ended up liking the lights when they were going off instead of when they. So he ended up wanting the lights to go off when he was moving instead of when it wasn't moving. So we changed that as well for our final product. As you can see on the right, that's our final product, but I'll talk more about that in the next slides.
So yeah, for the front end, we use React.js, which uses JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. For the back end, we use Django, which uses Python. And for our website, we used CRUD, which is create, read, update, and destroy for each class, which are the workouts and the exercises. So each workout and exercise can be created, read, updated, and destroyed. And so we have several different parts. You can use an account to log in, and here Hugo can create his own routines. He can search through the database of exercises he did to add them to his routines. He can add or remove exercises as well as add or remove workouts. Each exercise has a video of him doing it with a part where you could write the amount of reps and how long to do it. You can also see the current rep you're on.
So here's the final product of the physical component. So we made one last change to the physical component. We made the quantitative change of changing sensitivity of the IMU, because it was being too sensitive. It was going off at all times. And so we changed that from 0.1 to 0.3 on the code for Arduino. And it ended up actually working pretty well. Hugo liked it, and as you can see in the GIF on the right, it worked well in conjunction with the website as they were using it while they exercise, even though they weren't directly related.
Yeah, so in the future, we wish to expand the project. We want to add more features to the website and revamp the physical product to work better and look more polished. We want to make the project as engaging as possible for Hugo so we can custom tailor to his liking. Yeah, and so we've learned several things. We learned how to create a website and host it on the internet with an easy interface. We learned several coding languages like JavaScript and CSS that can all come together to create wonderful products. And we learned how to create a physical component that can track movement using Arduino coding.
Thank you for watching our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Yes. My name is Victor. And I'm Han. I'm Leah. I'm Shirok.
Yeah, I guess I have two questions actually. Sorry. One, have you thought about the fact that Hugo might get tired of this, and then so that he might not use it as much, after a few months, or so, and if could be the case, then have you thought about turning into a little more of a gaming where certain instructions are given, and if he follows them, there's a positive feedback. If he doesn't, negative feedback. So make it a little more interactive. So have you thought about that aspect of maybe product improvement? And the second question was, kind of exercise he's doing with the PT. So how much of that do you capture with this? Is it like a 50% of the exercises he's doing with the PT? He can do it with alone, or is it 10%, or is it 90%?
Can you repeat the first half of the second question? There was some outside noise in the computer.
So for now, Hugo is working with the PT to do the exercises, right? So if he uses this device and does it alone, by himself, not alone, how much of the kind of exercise that he's doing with the PT does he cover? Or are there some exercises that this does not capture?
Hello?
We can hear you.
Wait, I can respond to the first question. You asked if we wanted to gamify the website. I think we could do it, but we have not thought about it so far. Like, I was considering adding to the website a way for people to track his workouts and track like which muscles each workout refers to. But we did not think of like adding like more games directly to that extent because we think have like a physical component to be tracked. And then for the second question, do you mean like PT as in private trainer or is it like
And yeah, it's a very simple question. So Hugo works out with PT. So whatever he's doing with the PT, how much can he do? How much of that can he do alone with this device now? All of it or some part of it?
The wife's not really developed in like exercise. His mom's gonna be that way. The website is to develop how to work out. There's videos of himself where you can actually see that. I mean, mom also see that development work. So his mom will be able to deal with it. So I think the device is generally what I believe is important.
yeah, so we also tested this out with just Figo and as well, and he's able to work through the workout on its own without the private tutor. Does that answer your question?
I had a question about how much the wearable weighs and if there was any concerns about sensory feedback, tactile feel, and especially thinking about based on the weight, it might alter how he's doing the exercises. And then based on that, if an Apple Watch or something else was considered.
So yeah, we tested it and watching precisely. I think he was returning pretty probably. And we asked about what it was buying. He didn't have any problems with it. And also with pushing.
Feeling like
Hey, TJ team, quick question. So your audio is extremely garbled. Do you have multiple devices playing audio at the moment or something?
okay, do you want us to rejoin with a different computer?
It seems like whoever is sitting closer to the microphone, we hear a lot better. Whoever is sitting further away is extremely garbled. So just, I guess, sit a little bit closer.
Wait, we'll rejoin.
Okay, this is fine. This is fine. So when you just spoke there, that was fine.
I have one comment. It's not a question, it's positive feedback. I really appreciated how you moved away from the initial cube idea to something that Hugo would feel more comfortable with. I thought that was a great pivot.
This is Raquel. One question. Is there application or was Hugo interested in playing anything like team sports or outdoor sports, anything like that? Or was his focus and his primary interest more on, say, strength training in a PT context? Could you please lean in?
That's one of the questions you asked him when you're like a test one, in the first one, they're about sports. So his mom had 5 months, like soccer, stuff like that, but so that's why she got it. And
Wait, the issue is my fan. The cube is overheating right now. So that's why I suggested switching computers.
Yeah, maybe you can try switching computers if that's quick. Okay, we're basically at the end of the time for Q&A.
I think if the judges have further questions for you later, maybe we can catch back up and we'll just try to quit and then rejoin on another computer so that and then judges can follow up with extra questions.
I'm Jasmine Pallett, and I'm a sophomore at Algonquin Regional High School. Hi, I'm Hannah Dunleavy, and I'm a junior at Algonquin Regional High School, and this is our project, Typewriter. So a little bit about our co-designer. Our co-designer is a male named Kevin, and he's a junior at our high school who works one-on-one with an aide. Some of his specific challenges is that he has hyperflexive joints and visual impairments, and for this reason, it's difficult for him to type. In the past, he's worked with his occupational therapist, and they have put these stickers on top of the keyboard letters to try to help him type, but those weren't working too well. So they also bought a KeyMaster keyboard, but the keys weren't bright enough. Product objective. The objective of this product is to modify the existing KeyMaster keyboard in order to make the letters more visible and easier to find for the co-designer.
This product had many different iterations. For the initial one, we started out with a base that attached to the sides instead of the top, and then we put a semi-translucent piece on the top that would let enough light through to see the letter and not block the light. However, this still wasn't bright enough, so we changed our design a couple times and then ended up with our final design, where the bottom is printed in clear and it's an inner shell that attaches to the base. Then we have a concave lens that helps diffuse the light better. And then finally on top, we have a black outer shell that has an aperture at the top in the shape of the letter. And this lets much more light through for the co-designer. Here's our final product. As you can see, you can light up different keys on this keyboard. This is useful for students learning to type their names. For instance, in this picture, we've lit up the letters for the name Kevin, which is our co-designer's name. To look more in depth at what we did, let's look at some of the keys. This is the Z key, obviously. On the bottom, you can see that there's the clear inside shell that attaches to the base. And this allows all the light from the bottom to get through without being blocked by any supports. Above the clear base is a clear lens that helps diffuse the light. And then on top, we have this black outer shell that stops any light from bleeding through from the sides. This is the shift key from the keyboard. As you can see, we printed it in bright orange because this is one of the colors that Kevin can see best. We also put a raised arrow on top so he could feel where the arrow was, as well as putting it in black to create more high contrast. On the bottom of the shift key, we had the same supports, but we had to put 3 of them on for it to fit the key slot. All of these supports had to be custom measured and fit to this exact keyboard. To turn on the keyboard, you just plug it in, and then if you want to turn specific letters on or off, so if you press those 2 keys down, you can turn specific letters off. Similarly, if you turn this off and press both these down, you can turn the same letters on. Once you've picked the letters that you want to keep, you hit the lock button, and this makes it easy for someone to type. As you can see on this keyboard, we also use bright colors to indicate very important keys for him, such as Shift, Enter, and Backspace, which are alternative keys that he uses a lot. For future plans, we want to continue working with the special education department at our school to help other students in need. We also want to continue listening to feedback from our co-designer in case any other changes need to be made, and we want to continue finding real-life applications for our engineering skills.
And what we learned. So we learned how to help people with visual impairments learn to type more easily and how to use CAD to print 3D keys, and also more about the design process and how it takes a bunch of trials to get to a good final product. We enjoyed every step of this project and would love to be able to participate in more projects like this in the future. Thank you for watching our presentation.
I just want to say first, it feels like a really good way to learn typing and motor planning on a keyboard. I think of a lot of my patients and trying to teach them how to recognize where certain letters lay out. So that's a really good product idea for that, the light up screen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also recognition of the timing it takes to remove the supports from 111 different keys. That must have taken forever.
Yeah, it took a really long time.
Yeah, so I think it's a great idea, but I do have a question. Have you considered contacting KeyMaster and asked them to come up with a sort of brighter, lighter option or even a larger key option? I mean, if they can do that, they are in a position to do it so much easier, in some sense, right? Have you thought about maybe talking to them directly?
So yeah, we haven't really thought about that in the past, but that does seem like a really good idea since the KeyMaster keyboard itself, when we were first looking at it before we made any adjustments, the keyboard, it honestly, like, it wasn't super bright unless you're looking completely on top of the keyboards. So that would be definitely a really good idea for us to reach out to them in the future.
I'm curious if you guys looked at any other like sensory or visual feedback opportunities there, either maybe like tactical or haptics, or even beyond like the brighter light up keys, colors, textures, anything like along that line?
Yeah, so we did use the colors. So some of his best colors are red, yellow, and orange, which we put on the keyboard, and then the arrows are raised, which helps him feel as well. And then what he does is he plugs this into his Chromebook, and he already has this program that plays the letters out loud as he types. So we just wanted to add on to that, and we didn't really see a need to add that to the keyboard as well, since it was already happening.
This is Raquel. One question. What was Kevin's most common use case for typing? Was it schoolwork, socializing, something else?
Yeah, so Kevin works with his occupational therapist and his aide to help with his typing, and it's morely just to like practice typing certain words that he uses a lot. Like he'll type his first and his last name and house in school, and it's just to practice so he has that to work on so he can get better at it. What kind of market analysis did you do outside of the stickers and the keyboard that he already has, thinking about what else is already on the market?
We mostly just stuck off of what the feedback we got directly from him and his occupational therapist was. So the stickers we got, like his keyboard is like actually covered with them on his Chromebook, and we just wanted, they're like, oh, it'd be really, really good if like they had one of those, and they're like, it's so good, but like we can just barely see it, and we would love if you were able to do something similar to that. So the reason we didn't do too much research in other areas is because that's really what they specifically wanted, something that would light up like that.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions? If the judges are done asking questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, they have their keyboard with them today, so folks can take a look, get their hands on it, try it out later if time allows. All right, next team.
Hello, this is Team 903, Waterlogged Frogs for the final Blackgate design review. Our co-designers are my grandparents. My grandma enjoys cooking, gardening, and playing poker. My grandpa enjoys traveling and hanging out with friends. It was brought to our attention that they don't actually shower often due to inconvenience from their mobility impairments. My grandparents, being 70+ years old, have stiff muscles, especially in their legs. They have trouble with normal balance, getting up from the ground, and keeping their arms up for too long.
We realized the main problem was that there were too many movements involved in full body cleaning to be comfortable for Sophie's grandparents. We had thought of a shower head or a better water distribution system, but realized that they should be sitting. We decided to build off of a standard bath chair and add features for a complete bathing experience. In our first iteration, we built a framework of PVC pipes on the bath chair and established water control. We took the shower head hose and connected it to other PVC pipes that were handled by a manual valve and 2 solenoid valves, which would allow water to flow into the bathing system. These solenoid valves all operate at 12 volts or below for safety reasons. Then we drilled some holes in the PVC framework of the bath chair to shower the user from all around. After hooking up the solenoid valves to the ESP32 microcontroller and coding some basic C code, we could control water flow.
After our first system test, we contacted my grandparents about it. They gave their approval, but asked for more testing to happen before trying it. We strengthened PVC joints on the bath chair and added a draining feature to ensure the pipes don't burst. Then, we thought about adding soap. Both of my grandparents don't really use soap, mainly due to the amount of reaching done during scrubbing. Thus, we decided the automatic system should account for soap as well. In one of the water channels, we added a soap compartment to allow soap to mix with water before dispensing.
Before we could start our first real trial, we needed a user interface. Expanding on our C code, we added a web server, which the ESP32 can reach through the Wi-Fi. We hooked the relays to be controlled by the buttons on that website, and added additional settings and a pre-programmed showering routine as well.
Then, we tested on Jejun's brother and a dummy. It turns out that the water was a bit too hot and pressurized for comfort. The temperature was adjusted and we added a temperature sensor to the system. We also increased the number of holes in the PVC pipes from 2 to 12 to reduce water pressure. After the tests, we found wire damage in the ESP32. It was replaced and better casing was employed. We finally had our first test with our co-designers. My grandparents were very impressed with the chair, and it seemed like they were very comfortable. They did ask, however, for some left coverage for the shower, so we added additional PVC pipe systems. They were also a bit nervous about the new product and asked for a manual start and stop button to be added. A shower curtain was also added due to their request for increased privacy. We also changed the UI so it can work better with the mobile interface. My grandparents were very pleased with this design. My grandma said she would use this every day for 5 years. However, we'd like to make this available to the public so anyone with impaired mobility can shower with ease.
We're planning on making a more customizable experience on the website, voice commands, different size of the chair, or maybe adjustable parts, along with more sensors for safety.
Ultimately, this project has been an incredible experience, and we're extremely grateful to Beaverworks for this opportunity. We learned the best solutions might be relatively simple. A lot of the fancier designs we had in mind at the beginning turned out to be extremely inconvenient.
We also learned about the importance of communication. We didn't have as many tests with our co-designers as we would have liked because of the setup, but we still gathered a lot of feedback from them by asking targeted questions about specific aspects of our project and about the water system, rather than asking about general impressions.
Thank you.
Okay, so hi, this is Bob. So clearly this is a very important problem, right? I mean, a lot of people are concerned about taking showers, but I guess question, maybe feedback is, have you, I mean, your system is where the chair and the shower is integrated into one? Have you considered just separating the two? Because there are a lot of shower chairs that you can buy, very sturdy. And then, so maybe you can just focus on just the shower system for the wheelchair. That's actually a separate system. That way you can just focus on the shower system itself and not integrating into the chair as much.
Yes, we did think a bit about that. And the fact is, the shower chair that we use in this project, it's actually store-bought. It's around $30, and it's quite cheap for its size. Like, the reason why we integrated the shower framework into the chair, it's because this makes it easier for us to cover the entirety of the body and clean much better than, like, let's say, a fixed shower head right above us, or right above the user.
Yeah, I mean, like, adding on to that, part of the reason, like, we had this is that, like, this dilemma of, like, we have 2 shower heads in my grandparents' bathroom. There's one that's, like, fixed and one's, like, unfixed. And the problem with having a fixed one is that it's just, like, hard to cover your body, I think, in general. And even if you're sitting or standing, it's still, like, a lot of movement. And I think it's just very convenient for them. And even with, like, an unfixed shower head, if that's what you're talking about, I think that's what he meant. With that, it's, like, holding I think their main concern with that is, like, holding it for too long. It was too heavy for them, I think. That's probably definitely.
I'm sorry. Maybe I think I didn't communicate my question clearly. No, I didn't mean to use the other shower heads, but take what you have and remove the chair, make it slightly larger, so it's a standalone shower system where I can use the chair to go in. So that's the decoupling I was talking about.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. I think we considered that. That is actually a very good idea. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah. That, I think that would actually be, the problem with that is that I think it would be a little more expensive, and, like, it would be a little harder to, like, setup, I think. So we kind of had this idea to make it like simple and like kind of the chair is like the main. It's kind of like building off the framework of that. I feel like it's just a more enhanced one. So it's like a lot simpler, I'd say, and I feel like I won't say it's like unnecessarily complicated, but it's like I feel like there's no need to have a whole like shower system when you have like a chair and integration. It'll be a lot cheaper, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hi, this is Unju. I want to start by saying that my grandmother loved to take showers and she would have loved this. But I would have some questions, I guess, around the larger experience of the chair. I saw that your grandparents mentioned that they wanted more privacy and that some of the controls for the shower were web-based. I'm assuming that means that somebody else is there to monitor and control the shower. Would that be correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I guess along those lines then of privacy and I guess like a shower being something where you usually feel very comfortable and like private and alone. I was wondering if you had any other design like ideas or maybe iterations that didn't happen in regards to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jejun said yes, and actually that was what we did for testing to make sure the thing went wrong. But I think we did settle on like a water case phone, and I think you've seen the mobile design. So in the shower, they would often just what they'll have is like a waterproof phone case, sorry, and then they can control the shower from there, and that's probably what you're thinking about, I think. So it doesn't require a person there, and that's also why we added like security features, I think as Jejun mentioned in the video, for like the start and stop button. So yeah.
So kind of going off of that question too, just understanding, is someone else present to help them assist in showering as needed, or is this an independent task?
It can be both, depending on whether or not you would like a supervisor or somebody else like monitoring your shower. So in the case that we have, like if we have a waterproof phone case and a phone, it's pretty simple for the elderly person just to get in and then control the system from their phone. But if let's say the elderly person's daughter doesn't feel like it's safe, or it's safe keeping the phone in the shower, they can have it outside and have the person inside just, I guess, communicate directions to the person outside. And
so I thought it was actually more about the curtain, going through all of your documentation and seeing the images, thinking that if they have a hard time moving their arms and if they're wet and the floor is wet, how they're going to get in and out of the system and kind of remove the curtain from over them and engage in more independent bathing with some of these safety factors now.
Yes. The fact is, we actually thought about this beforehand, and we designed the shower chair to be partially jointed. So essentially, did you see that portion that flipped over the head? Yes. And that portion that covered the legs? Those can both be flipped down to make entering and exiting the shower chair easier. Besides, also the curtain is attached to the area around the head, so that also helps with you can also remove the curtain quite easily.
Yeah, it's I think what you think is it's like connected here, but it's actually like it's like a regular shower kind of where you like go off and off. So it's less hard to do than I think. Yeah, but also I think Jejun also mentioned that it like some people would have different like experiences with it. I just like want to point out that like our co-designers are personally like they're relatively independent with it, so I think that wasn't really a big issue I'd have. But it is true that definitely for some other people they might require assistance. So yeah.
I just want to say it's really cool, and just thinking again about the upper extremity mobility of trying to raise the system overhead, thinking about something like a lever-based system for someone to pull down rather than having to raise overhead so that it's more downward force for someone with some upper extremity challenges.
That's very true. That is actually a really good idea. Thank you for that.
All right. Any further questions from the judges? All right, sounds like this team has received a good number of suggestions. Good thing you can continue working on this, either on your own or as an alumni team in the future. All right, thank you.
Hello, we're Team One Step, team number 915. My name is Christian Ishiki, and I focus on engineering and materials. My name is Jacob Andal, and I focus on engineering and 3D CAD.
I'm Christopher Gomez. I specialize in optimizations, robotics, and angle calculations.
My name is Sahir Kadri. I specialize in computer science and AI. My name is JJ, and I specialize in circuitry and design.
This is our co-designer, Mr. Ishiki, who's my father. He used to love to go golfing and fishing. However, a few years ago, he had an infection develop in his right leg due to diabetes, which resulted in an amputation above the knee. This made him completely dependent on his prosthetic.
After multiple interviews, we found the two most glaring problems with Mr. Ishiki's current prosthetic. The first is that his current prosthetic lacks a motorized knee. So if he wants to take a step, he needs to use his thigh to manually kick out his shin, which is fatiguing even over short distances. And the second is that his current prosthetic supports his weight with a hydraulic pressure-based system in his knee, but it only activates if the shin forms a straight line with his thigh. So if Mr. Ishiki gets too fatigued and tries to take a step without making this straight line, there will be no resistance in the knee to support his weight. And when he puts his foot down, he'll fall over.
We decided to solve these problems by building a rehabilitative walking device for Mr. Ishiki. Ideally, this device would 1. Read his walk cycle and detect when his thigh is moving forward, and 2. Send the input data to a motor, which extends his leg for him, activating the resistance and allowing him to walk naturally without having to kick his prosthetic forward. Our initial prototype just used one IMU placed on the thigh of his leg, which analyzed the velocity at which his leg came out. However, we realized this was too inaccurate, so we decided to add a second IMU on the shank of his leg. After adding one more IMU to the shank and one on his thigh, this would allow us to more accurately determine the flexion of his knee. However, this didn't let us know whether to move the knee forwards or backwards. For our third and final prototype, we had a Raspberry Pi, which obtained the two readings from the two IMUs and used that to calculate a pulse modulation from the angle. This would send the pulse modulation through binary encoding to the Arduino, which was connected to a motor driver, telling the motor to extend either forward, backwards, or not at all.
The circuitry for our final prototype utilizes jumper wires. Firstly, male-female jumper wires connect the Arduino to the Arduino Uno. Then, male-male jumper wires connect the Arduino to the motor driver in order to send a PWM signal. Then, the motor driver is connected to the motor with more male-male jumper wires. The Raspberry Pi is powered via a power supply connected to an outlet, and the Arduino is powered by USB connected to the Raspberry Pi. The motor is also powered by a 12-volt battery connected to an outlet. The electrical mechanical system is contained within a 3D printed circuit box.
The physical work of the device comes from the motor, which will be placed on Mr. Ishiki's hip to minimize weight from leverage. When the motor is activated by the IMU, it begins to turn these gears. We used a belt and pulley system to transfer the force over a longer distance, and that makes the whole device lighter since we're using less gears. And over here, closer to the shaft, we use a 1:2 gear ratio to transform speed from a smaller gear into torque for a larger gear. You can see it work like this. I'm turning the taller gear, and when Mr. Ishiki turns his leg out, it'll kick out. When in use, we plan to cover the whole thing with a 3D printed shell to protect it from dust and water.
Since we were only able to finish a model, we hope to come up with a working device that Mr. Ishiki can use in the future. Mr. Ishiki isn't just a co-designer, but a dad of our friend who we hope to help as much as possible. This project taught Chris and I a lot about working with technology we were previously unfamiliar with. From learning about IMUs to working with an Arduino, we were introduced to a broad range of concepts we wouldn't have encountered anywhere else.
This project introduced me and Christian to practical engineering skills, like drilling through various materials and proper safety procedures when using power tools.
A challenge pushed me to learn circuitry and electrical engineering from the ground up, fostering skills in circuiting, soldering, and 3D printing. However, the most important skill that we learned from the Create Challenge was the importance of helping others with technology, bringing out the best in humanity, empathy, and compassion.
To fundraise for our materials, we collaborated with a local business to design and sell the shirts that we're currently wearing. With their assistance, we were able to sell over 50 shirts to our friends and family and fundraise over $400.
We'd like to thank some organizations and people who helped us, such as Whitney High School Robotics,
Mr. Singh, our coach,
J2K Collective for designing our shirts,
Mr. Gomez for tutoring us in circuitry,
and you for watching this video.
This is a very challenging problem, as clearly can be seen, but also important one. When I did a quick search, that you can, I mean, there are companies that sell motorized knee joints, which I presume is very expensive, right? And so was that the intention, was to come up with something lower cost that works similarly? Or have you looked into that, exactly how that's made, and then try to figure out how you can make it lower cost?
So when we looked into different types of microprocessor knee prosthetics, the most popular one is Ottobock, right? And even when you go onto their website, they don't even tell you how much they cost, because they cost that much money, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out how much money it is. You go onto eBay, where it's probably sold the cheapest, it's still like $4,000, right? So when we were making the material list, and the microprocessor system works kind of similar to ours, it also uses like an IMU system, right? So the problem is that theirs is so expensive. I'm certain of the fact that they're marking it up a lot, because theirs is about $4,000, $5,000, but then while ours is still like really expensive, I won't lie, like the material list is about $400 on the dock. That is still like 10 times cheaper than whatever they're doing right now with their prosthetics. So no shade, but ours is a lot cheaper technically.
This is Raquel. Thank you for sharing your project, and thank you especially for captioning your videos. You mentioned the rehabilitative context of the project. I'm curious, is the data collected shared with anyone to inform future rehab?
Wait, what is it? Wait. The data we collected is particularly for Mr. Ishiki only, and the data is public. It contains a bunch of acceleration vectors. The biggest issue I see is with motorized legs like these. We use an AI system to detect whether he's walking forward, backwards, or standing still, and that's why we have to collect a bunch of data, because artificial intelligence requires a bunch of data to be very accurate. So the data we have is only pertaining to Mr. Ishiki, so I'm afraid that, I mean, it could still be used, but it might not be very accurate to other individuals that have different walking patterns, and like they take different strides compared to Mr. Ishiki.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, this is Unju. I had a quick question about the portability of your electromechanical system. I think you also mentioned that maybe a portion of it would be plugged into an outlet. I could be misremembering, but just in general, concerns about like the portability, maybe one-sided weight, if that's something he's going to be carrying on or above a hip, and range of motion, or at least from if he's going to be like plugged in or powered in any way.
So with the prosthetic right now, we don't want to just like put it straight onto his actual prosthetic leg, because we're afraid it might break. So while we're making our prototype, we haven't been actually putting it on his leg or attaching it to him. We've just been testing with it and then using a box. But in the future, what we plan to do is we plan to make a smaller box and get some lithium-ion batteries and connect them to the system, right? And then we could make a small, like, this wasn't mentioned, but we could make a small backpack or something that goes around his hip so that he could hold onto the mechanical device, and it would be attached to the motorized system with the pulley, and the gears and the shaft would all be attached to his leg, like in the 3D printed shell.
Most of my questions were already answered, so I just want to highlight the profile of your father and your client that you built out in your write-up, and saying that was really well done. Information about his roles, routines, hobbies, intrinsic motivators. It was nice to understand how you saw this person and what you were trying to do with the project, knowing what's out there and how things can be so expensive, so you're trying to create something workable, and knowing that the project's not there yet, and not testing it further where it might cause any kind of gait imbalance or possible injury in pursuit of trying this.
All right, thank you.
So I guess I have one more feedback. I understand the cost is a big issue, but when I look at your product, it is bulky, right? So the long-term use may not work out. If you look at the current robotics, like the Boston Dynamics robotics, humanoids, dogs, cheetah, right? All the joints have electric motors, and there's like tons of joints, right? And so they cannot be as expensive as what's available. So you might maybe, if you're going to continue the project, you might just rethink the whole thing and says, if I can just put a electric motor at a joint, and then somehow control that, just like what all these other robots are doing, whether that might be much more compact, and it may not even be also, I don't think it will be also expensive. That's my, but you should investigate and find out.
Thank you for the suggestion. That's really useful. We'll look into it afterwards.
All right, thank you, Team One Step. I appreciated t-shirts. All right, next I think we have Team Yoon.
This is Team 963 for the Beaverworks Create Challenge. I'm Peter.
I'm Steven.
We are the team members. Alex is our coach and Carol is our co-designer. Hi, I'm Peter. I'm a team member and designer. I'm a high school junior in San Jose, California, and I aspire to be an industrial designer.
I'm Steven. I'm a team member and builder. I'm also a high school junior in San Jose, California.
Carol is our co-designer. She's our neighbor. And Alex is our coach, and he has 25 years of experience in semiconductor equipment and the materials industry. Our co-designer is Carol. She's an 88-year-old female with a mobility impairment. She recently broke her ankle and started to use a walker to get around. She got a foldable walker so it could be placed in the trunk or back seat of a car. However, she still needs help to get in and out of a car and sometimes needs assistance to get up from a chair or sit down on a chair. From our interview with her, we determined her daily activities and what would make her daily life easier or better. She does dishes and chores, lives with a dog named Lexi, and it's problematic for her to carry things across the house, so she added a basket to the walker, making less trips. We thought it would be easier, it would make her life better to have the walker fit in small spaces, make the walker ergonomic, have a motorized system, and making the folding mechanism better.
After our interview, we made a list of user product requirements. For accessibility, we wanted a walker that would move up and down to assist Carol getting up and down from her seating position. We also wanted to make it foldable to fit in cars or any other types of transportation. For operation, we wanted it to work for over 12 hours or more than 50 up and down movements, and we wanted it to be less than 10 pounds, have lockable wheels, handles, and armrests. Our product is the Easy Rise Walker, and its objective is to help users rise from a seating position by using a motorized system.
So moving on to the prototype.
Here is our videos of Carol testing.
Here she is testing the brakes.
Our feedback from Carol, she said that it was too flimsy and the PVC pipes couldn't hold her entire weight, and she wanted our brakes to be implemented on both sides, and the walker wasn't foldable yet.
So here we have our final iteration of our prototype, the product. Key features included extruded aluminum for strength. It had rails on all sides, so we could easily slide our components, making it easier to make changes on the fly. We also had lockable hinges for folding the walker to prevent the walker folding in on itself when the user was using the walker. And we added 3D printed armrests for better comfort, and it was a different design than our first prototype. Here is our assembly, and the walker is fully open on the top right, and it's fully closed on the bottom right.
After our testing with Carol, she said it was a lot stronger than the previous design, and she liked the folding feature, but it would be nice to have height adjustment for a taller person. For our future plans, we want to continue to add and refine our supports to make it less flimsy, and we want to try different designs, and we want to make the brakes easier to press.
Things we learned included simplicity is key when designing a product, and we learned how to effectively use a 3D printer. Thanks.
Hi, I had a couple of questions about the walker itself. Thinking about, to start, is the goal to use this in the community or only in the home? And then off of that, seeing if you were going to look into cable management, because it looks like based on the environment you're using that in, a lot of the cables could get snagged on something or pose as a safety risk.
We're planning to use it in the environment and community, and the reason for that, or the reason for our brakes, was to use it on certain areas that can be going downhill, and so it would be a little harder for the user to control that, and braking would help slow the user down in case of like any steep slopes or going faster than usual. And we haven't really gotten to the cable management yet, but we'll be sure to tightly secure it so it doesn't get, as you said, snagged on anything that's outside.
And about the cable management, we were planning to add an enclosure around the extruded aluminum so that we could protect all the components, like especially the battery and the wires.
This is Unju. At the end, you also mentioned potentially making this height adjustable for folks at different heights. I was wondering if you also thought about making the width adjustable, maybe for better leverage when you use the walker to stand up.
Yeah. So on the extruded aluminum, there's like certain rails, and you can slide the lockable hinges towards the center and away. So I guess that could be used to help adjust the width.
This is Raquel. I understand that this is portable and foldable. Could you share more about the results of any testing around your clients practicing folding it up and taking it somewhere else?
We haven't really, or Carol really hasn't really tested this in the outside world other than her home. So we haven't been able to test the foldability part in certain areas, but I'm sure we'll get to that afterwards.
Got it. Thank you.
This is Bob. So maybe this is more of a feedback than a question, but there are just tons of walkers with all the features, with the brakes, motorized that's available to buy. So I wonder if, I guess the question is, did you think about just coming out with a device that helps her stand up, motorized device that stand up, so she can use any of the existing walkers that she chooses to? Let's say, basically, it's like T-bar that motorized that just help her stand up. That way, you decouple the problem a little bit, and then all the walker options or the commercially available walkers you can then potentially leverage. You can just focus on the device to help her stand up from a chair.
Going off of that a little bit too, then it would work out well for people with spinal cord injury as well or other conditions. Thinking about removing it from the part being the walker and more so being able to have some kind of mobility support.
We actually didn't think of that, and I think that's a great idea that we can try to implement later. Steven, you have anything to add?
Well, like Peter said, I think that would make it a lot simpler for us to design. And I think the main thing we wanted to achieve with this motorized walker system was that I think if Carol used an individual walker and a motorized system to help her stand up, it might have been hard to carry both of those things around. So we kind of wanted to combine those two.
I guess my suggestion is really look into simplistic device that help us stand up. It can just be a stick, right? Effectively, stick with a handle that you can attach to the walker if you wanted to. So I think you should really seriously think about that. But that way you can leverage potentially all the available walkers. You don't have to spend any time on that, right? Just focus on making simplest, smallest device that will be helpful. That will help her stand up, right?
Yeah, we can look into that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Team Yoon. All right, I think next up is Team Kregis. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Hello, so this is our project, the Weightless Hearing Aid. My name is Jessie Longo.
And I'm Ellie Shu.
So our co-designer and who are they? Her name is Ellie Shu, and she's a high school student. Her disability is one-sided low-frequency hearing loss. She likes anime, dislikes seafood, and her hobbies are playing the bassoon and karate. So our co-designer's needs are Ellie needs an adapter to make her hearing aid lighter. Ellie needs her hearing aid to be easily switched out with an earplug. Ellie needs her hearing aid to be fashionable. Ellie needs something to help tell what direction sound is coming from.
So our product objective is to make it easy to change from hearing aids to earplugs, alleviate the weight from the hearing aid, and detect sound. From the product objective, we get the product requirements. So the adapter needs to alleviate the hearing aid weight. The adapter should be inconspicuous. The adapter should be detachable. The adapter must be durable. The adapter must allow for an easy switch between a hearing aid and an earplug. And the adapter must be able to detect sound. So for our low to high fidelity prototypes, we started with a sketch of a headband and a earplug box. And then we moved on to a paper prototype where the paper makes the box for the hearing aid. Then we 3D modeled and printed a headband. First, we had a sliding component where it was completely around the headband and it was able to slide on and off. However, we were worried about Ellie's comfortability, especially with the sliding component on her head. So we changed the component to a clippable and a sliding component using railings, 2 railings. And we use flexible filament for added comfortability.
And then for the electronics, our first prototype was using an Arduino and some coding to make the sound sensor activate the haptic motor to make it buzz. And once we got this to work, we moved on to making it work without the Arduino. And we were able to do this by using a transistor. And then lastly, in order to make it more compact, we soldered all the wires together and trimmed some of the wires to make them shorter.
So for our final prototype, we had one headband with different components. The 3 components that we had were the earplug box, which is just constant throughout, the hearing aid box, and the electronics pouch. You can see with the hearing aid box, the hearing aid wire is no longer on Ellie's ear, so the hearing aid has no place to put weight on Ellie's ear. And then for the electronics pouch, we made sure the pouch was around the same shade as Ellie's hair, so that it was more inconspicuous. And then you can see that both of them are able to fit on Ellie's head.
And then for our reflections and future plans, so we want to make the electronics more inconspicuous because right now they're a little bulky. And then we also want more design. We want to also design more decorations, such as Studio Ghibli themed decorations. And then we want to make the electronics more sensitive, but we don't want it to be too sensitive because we only want the sensor to pick up emergency sounds, such as car horns or traffic. We don't want it to pick up everyday speech.
So what did we learn? We learned more about circuitry, like building circuits, soldering, and troubleshooting the different components. We also learned more techniques for 3D modeling, such as modeling a circular object rather than a rigid one. We also learned about the engineering process, like going from a sketch to low fidelity to high fidelity and then a final prototype. We also learned what to focus on for the co-designer, like their problems.
And then this is Ellie demonstrating how easily it is to switch from the hearing aid to the earplug and back.
And then our next video will show how the sound detection component works.
All right, Ellie, I'm going to make a sound and you're going to tell me what direction it's coming from. Long! Long!
Hi, this is Unju. One thing I really loved in your documentation was showing how many iterations it took to even just get the headband shape right. One question I had, which I'll then follow up with a piece of feedback, is if you ever considered maybe a different like head accessory or maybe a softer headband, like an athletic one that you might wear while running.
We did consider like a cloth headband. However, that didn't really allow us to put on like different decorations. We thought that the clip-on, clip-off things were very helpful for that. And then also for different like materials, we were thinking of using like different kinds of filament, like the non-flexible one, which was the green one, and then the flexible one. And then we also considered putting cloth underneath the flexible headband just to provide that added comfort.
Yeah, those all sound like great ideas. The other piece of feedback that I would have is I would really encourage you to lean from making the electronic portion less visible to more visible. So instead of trying to make it as inconspicuous as possible, seeing if you can lean into how cool that piece of technology is, the fact that it's now integrated maybe into your fashion, your sense of style, especially with, I feel like the clip-ons, they almost remind me of Crocs and like the little gibbets, and with something that is very personality focused like Studio Ghibli, I think that'd be a great opportunity to showcase that part of yourself.
Yeah, we never thought about that. That's a really cool idea.
Thanks.
It's wonderful to see that you're wearing it right now too, to see how it's actually functionally working. I did want to know if you thought about using some kind of closure over the pouch to make sure the wires don't fall out if you bend down, things like that.
For the pouch, we started with a hard casing to see if we could solve the issue that you brought up, but we decided that it would be better to be able to take it out easily. We haven't quite come up with like a design iteration that could incorporate the cover, but in the future we want to try and make it more safe for the electronics to be covered completely, but still allowing the sensor to be visible.
Are you able to do activities like, say, like bending down to tie your shoes or having to pick things up? Like any concerns about it shifting or coming off your head?
I have to be careful about the electronics. So the electronics are one of the most fragile parts in our design, and so we wanted for future plans to make it less fragile. And we were thinking of doing it like putting it in cloth and making it like completely wearable, or like what you said, we could try to incorporate a cover. But yeah, that's mostly for future plans.
Seems great. Thank you.
Hi, have you considered having a variant maybe where rather than making your own headband, you just find a class of headbands you can just buy, and then you make your device attachable to that. Might give you some more design flexibility.
Yeah, we thought about that a little bit, and then we were thinking the railing might be hard to find a headband, but if there is a headband that we can find out there with the railing, we'll definitely look into it.
Any questions from the audience?
Just a reminder to the people who are viewing online, if you could put your questions in the Q&A, we can answer them along with the judges, so you guys can have a chance at home to ask your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, if you joined it through the webcast link, there's something called Slido and Q&A. So if you just have questions, you can put your questions in Slido, and we will read them out here so that the designers and the teams can answer your questions.
All right, thank you. Now we have our last finalist team before our alumni team presentation. This is CHS Dream Builders.
Hi, I'm Catherine. And I'm Emily. And we're Team Camas High School Dream Builder from Washington.
Our co-designer is Mrs. Carson, and she works in our school cafeteria.
She enjoys going to garage sales and thrift stores and sings in a community choir.
She had a stroke over a decade ago that impaired the left side of her body. We made a package of 4 products whose objectives are to assist with kitchen tasks, shopping and sports, putting on disposable gloves, and putting on necklaces.
Our first product is the Clip Glove. It assists with kitchen tasks like cutting vegetables, holding objects in place, and picking things up. Here's the progression of our design.
We started with a cardboard prototype before moving to a 3D printed gear system and cardboard panels. Then we fully 3D printed the product. However, the gears were too clunky and hard to lock, so in the end we switched to a clip mechanism for our last prototype. We also added more straps for a secure fit and a skate glove to support the wrist. Here is Miss Carson cutting vegetables with and without the glove. She only uses one hand because that's what she would normally do. Without the glove, the vegetables slid around the table a lot and were hard to cut, but with the glove she was able to keep the vegetable in place and cut it more easily. In addition, without using a glove, Miss Carson found it hard to scoop things out of a container and keep it stable. But the stability improved greatly with a glove on. She was able to scoop out 10 more pebbles with the glove, which was a 111% increase. Lastly, the Clip Buddy can also pick things up.
The second product in the package is the hook and grip. The objective of this glove is to allow Mrs. Carson to grip and push a shopping cart, grip a baseball bat, and grip a golf club with her impaired hand by putting the hook into the ring. Our first prototype was cut out from paper. We used it to demonstrate to our co-designer how the product would work. The second prototype was wearable, made from a woman's large golf glove. It worked, but the glove was too small, which made it hard for Mrs. Carson to put on. So on our second iteration, we used a larger men's glove. We also added a second ring closer to the wrist, which allows Mrs. Carson to grip objects of a larger size. With the product, Mrs. Carson can push a shopping cart using her impaired hand, and she can use her right hand to pick up products. She can also hold a shopping bag with her impaired hand and use her right hand for other activities.
The next product is the Holly Hook, which allows a user to put on a disposable glove using only one hand.
The left image is the first prototype, which is 3D printed and has a magnetic base and 2 columns extruding out, but the sharp corners of the column ripped the glove when Mrs. Carson tried to use it. Also, the school counters were magnetic, so the first design didn't work. Our next prototype was bent from a semi-flexible material. It clips onto Mrs. Carson's pant pocket, but it was too wide and short and didn't stay clipped on. Our final iteration was 3D printed, lightweight, and stayed in Mrs. Carson's pocket.
Into my glove first, best I can, and then you'll see that I use the bottom of this handle, and then the back side of my glove and the front side of my glove.
The last product is the Necklace Assist, which lets the user put on a necklace with only one hand.
On one end of the design, the wire hooks onto the ear, and Miss Carson hooks the necklace onto a hook at the end of the Necklace Assist before bringing the other end of the necklace around and securing it.
We want to benefit more people who have similar challenges as Mrs. Carson with our product, so we will publish our 3D design for the Holly Hook, components of the Clip Buddy, and the hook and ring on the hook and grip. We will give the package to Mrs. Carson, and our mentor is going to show our package to her stroke survivor research subjects.
From this project, we learned the impact that an impairment can make on an impaired individual's life. We also learned how to tailor our product to specific personal needs based on feedback. We also gained more experience in CAD, 3D printing, and sewing, and we also learned how to communicate with a co-designer.
We'd like to thank Beaverworks and our amazing team, including our co-designer, mentor, and our coach.
Thank you!
Really nice set of really helpful products, so congratulations. But have you thought about additional products? I mean, like, I didn't see one for helping with the tying shoelaces.
Oh, hi. So basically, she already has a way that she ties her shoelaces herself using like zip ties. So she didn't really need another product to help with that. Yeah.
Hi, this is Unju. I wanted to say I really appreciated how you had multiple touch points, multiple context-specific tools. Also very helpful documentation to see how she would have tackled some of these tasks without your products. One thing I would have been curious about is, like you mentioned, she already has strategies and tools. I'm wondering how she might use these products, or if you tested how she used these products in conjunction with the other adaptive tools that she already has. For example, in your documentation, she had a one-handed cutting board. And so when thinking about how the Clip Buddy might fit into that, was there any testing that you tried or any iterations that you did?
So specifically for the cutting board, she did mention that if she was actually going to use it to cut vegetables, she would want a safety cover to cover the clip panels for sanitary reasons. But yeah, I think that that could work with her cutting board because she has to put like the vegetables onto a spike, which kind of like damages the vegetables. So if we were to make a protective cover for the glove, it would be like much cleaner for her to cut the vegetables.
I really appreciate too that you're going to bring this to others to be able to try and demonstrate with, to see what other feedback might work for others, as well as putting this on something like Thingiverse. The more files that are out there online for others to be able to 3D print and download and be able to use, the better we're able to support our patients and our clients. So I really applaud that.
Thank you.
This is Raquel. I appreciate the level of specificity in your discovery. On the process side, could you share more about what helped you to get to that level of specificity? I recognize it's one thing to say that someone needs help and assistance in home context, but it's another thing to get to identify that it's cutting vegetables or putting on a necklace. So could you share what helped to get that clarity?
Yeah, so we conducted a lot of like meetings with our co-designer, and she would tell us like about her daily life, like more about like what she does in her job and like the specific tasks that she needed to do during her daily life. And as we said, we also looked at the other products that she's tried, and we kind of tried to improve off of that to better suit her user needs.
Hi, a question from the audience is, one of the materials that you guys had was an aid to help put on the glove and also put on the necklace. Do you think if you're making this for more people, there might be a demand to have that be a more versatile product and taking those features off?
Could you specify the question, please?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to ask is, you have an assistive technology to put on a glove and also a necklace. Do you think there would be a need to also have that available to take those glove and necklace off?
Oh, that's a good idea. So basically, there was a video that we didn't post like in our final presentation, but our co-designer, it's not that hard for her to take the glove and the necklace off as to put it on, because she can just like hook it onto another surface and take it off. But it is much harder for her to put it on because she has to like fit it onto her fingers. So yeah.
Any other questions from the audience or online? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And so that is actually all of our finalists. We have one last presentation from our alumni team. And just a reminder for everyone, we did open up an alumni division. This is where you can actually try to tackle maybe a similar problem to what you were doing before. We realized that some of these teams received some excellent feedback for things that they could improve on in the future. We also recognize that if you had a year plus to work on it, it might not be fair to have you, in the same pool as other people who are starting from the very beginning, but we do still want to provide support for you, right? So this year we had Team 101 as our alumni team who are working on a similar problem to what they did last year. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and show the video.
Grip Hero V2, the most innovative grip strengthener out there, by Andy Katz and Henry Allen.
So the issue that we're dealing with is called dyspraxia, which is like a minor cerebral palsy. 6% of children are affected with this, and 2% of them are severely affected. What this does is it affects your motor skills, your coordination, and your strength, especially when dealing with everyday tasks that one might take for granted. The co-designer we're working with is my sister, Izzy Katz, who's currently in 8th grade. She really enjoys reading and drawing, and she likes music and playing the drums. But Unfortunately, some of this is hindered by her dyspraxia. Some user needs that we identified were things like opening up a water bottle, opening heavy doors, or a bag of chips. So we knew that through our products, we wanted to be able to assist her in getting through these tasks that she once found difficult.
So our product objective is to improve grip strength in individuals with dyspraxia and low hand tone through a smart and engaging exercise tool that uses controlled resistance training and allows for long-term strength development.
Here are some of the iterations of our prototype. Last year, we created, for the same co-designer, a different solution, and this was a glove that provided real-time grip strength assistance by having a motor that drives your fingers forward while you're doing something such as opening up a door. But we realized that this was a short-term solution and wouldn't actually help her get better and not become reliant on this clunky device. So we sought out to do something that could improve her grip strength over time. So this is the grip strengthener tool that we used, and it uses a PID loop to provide controlled resistance. And then this is a video showing it working with the website. So it's giving feedback as you go to keep you motivated. And when you pull down, this corresponds with the character jumping over these. So it's interactive game that keeps her engaged throughout the whole entire thing. And then this is a video of Izzy using the prototype. When you come into the site, you're able to go to this menu where you can select how to play. So Izzy's able to enter her information, including her name and the strength she has in her hands to begin playing the game, which was done with a manual rep test. And then once she enters all of her information, she's able to calculate which weight should be used for the game. We're going to start training, and this is going to start the strength session. So first it starts off with your right hand.
Let's go, Izzy. You got this.
And as you can see, there's audio feedback.
Keep going, Izzy.
She finishes, she can navigate over to the log section of the website, and she's able to see how she does on each day, and her data will be saved, and she could filter it out or look at everything at once and see how she progresses. And if she doesn't want to count a session for one day for whatever reason, you're able to get rid of it by pressing X.
So our future plans is we want to continue testing and improving the user interface. We want to add casing for the electronics and move it over to a PCB for consolidation. And we want to publish our prototype in a physical therapist magazine.
Some lessons that we learned from doing the Create Challenge was one, that it's very important to start simple so that you're able to manage your process. Because we started out with lots of cool, complicated ideas because we care a lot about the project, but we ended up having separate hardware and software, which was difficult to bring together in the end and actually come through with the idea that we wanted. And then second, it's important to start testing earlier on, even if it's with very minor things that are not completely technical, like just lifting up dumbbells and seeing what weight she could handle. Because what we realized was that we assumed in the beginning that she could handle 10 pounds at least, because that's the baseline we saw on different websites and from talking to occupational therapists. But when she went to actually test the game, we saw that that was too high and we had to lower that down.
Thank you very much for watching.
I think this is a great product. I guess it's more of a positive feedback. So I think that I like the idea that she can actually keep track of how much she's done and how much improvement she's making. So I think that's a great feature.
I have two questions. I'm curious what feedback you got the first time around that helped you move to this iteration.
So for that, there were two main things. One was that even at first we customized it to be like magenta, everything that she liked, because she thought that that would she'd want to wear it more in public. But then she realized that even if it was something that she liked, she didn't want to be different, have something else she had to carry around with her, and she wanted to be more discreet. And then second was, like I said in the video, this was able to get her up to the 20 pounds that you needed to have basic functions when she was wearing it, but I wanted her to be able to be reliant not reliant on this device and actually able on her own to get up to that 20 pounds eventually.
And then the other piece of feedback I had was I love the gamification aspect. I think another avenue that maybe you could explore in that direction is you mentioned she likes playing drums. I think something like a rhythm game or like a musicality game could be really cool, where you not just focus on the actual pooling portion, but also the release, I think could be a pathway as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because I know when I spoke with OTs, they were saying that in the future to expand, it would be cool if she could target specific fingers, and then I think that would go well with a rhythm-based game where it's also helping her have to think about coordination too.
I would love to see a product like that. My first thought is like Guitar Hero, but with weights attached to it somehow. One comment to start, you mentioned you wanted to publish this in a physical therapy journal. I recommend an OT journal. I'm biased, but. Second, being able to actually try the device here was really cool. One thing is I noticed feels like it's almost a lag, where it feels like you do the initial jump and then you go forward again, where the ball goes up and then goes up much higher. For me, I had a disconnect of being able to pull down, thinking I had to stop for a second as compared to that smooth movement. So thinking if there's a way to have it so that however your proportional force is how high the ball goes or something.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. A lot of it was fine-tuning because I was working with a PID loop, and like very tiny adjustments was making it go crazy all over the place. But I think definitely that with further testing out, we could have it so that even if she's applying more force, then that could correspond with how high it's jumping instead of just a set height.
I was wondering, so you were collecting logs for Izzy, and I was wondering if you had looked into this or sharing the logs with an occupational therapist. Does that help them help their patient better? Is that an avenue that you know about?
I definitely think that's a very good idea, because right now the data is being stored not only for her to see in the website, but also directly into the computer. So that's something that could be shared if there's an OT that she's currently working with for them to review. And I think a lot of it's very customized for each individual. Like you couldn't take her data and apply it to other patients, but I think it would definitely help with her own training plan to see what other areas she needs to work on.
This is Raquel. As an alum, what advice would you have to future teams? And I ask because I'm really curious and I really appreciate your focus on the training of grip strength and the focus on developing grip strength versus, say, building specific tools to address opening a water bottle or opening a bag of chips. So to that end, what advice would you give to future teams?
I think just don't be scared to pivot your idea, because I know that when I first started out, like even before I spoke with my sister, our co-designer, with the interview, I had so many things in mind that I wanted to incorporate in the project. But if this isn't going to be something that your co-designer would want and be motivated to do daily, then that's not actually going to assist with anything. And so it's very important to be open to changing your idea to really work around what would help them most.
All right, then let's thank Team 101. So, according to our schedule, we're a little bit behind, but that's okay. We're going to send our judges off to do some judging. But just so our judges are aware, especially because we had some audio issues with the TJ Team 5, they are still on the Zoom and they switched to, I'm told, a different computer. So if you have further questions, we can assist you to get back on the Zoom and you can ask them those questions. Any comments from judges before we banish you? Okay. Excellent. Then teams, you can feel free to hang out here for a bit. We'll check in on the judges every once in a while and make sure they're doing the judging thing. And once we figure things out, we'll rapidly make some PowerPoints and then bring them back in. Hope you all are excited. All right, so our illustrious team of judges has returned after much deliberation. And so the way we're going to do this is actually, since we have an equal number of judges and categories, we're going to have each one of our judges announce one of the category winners, and they're going to say a little bit about why they chose that team for that particular category. So, judges, take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. First, I want to congratulate you all. It was amazing to see what you made across this time span and how much you worked with your community partner, with each other. The fact that this was voluntary, the fact that you're all in high school, this is truly incredible. The award that I'm announcing is Co-Designer Collaboration, and I want to congratulate Team 744, CHS Dream Builder, Products for Stroke Survivor Independence. We were all very impressed by the write-up of your client, reviewing who she was as an individual outside of her diagnosis and her abilities. I think it was really amazing to see what you were able to do, thinking about how many projects you created, knowing that she already has some of her own assistive technology. You didn't try and reinvent anything she was already needing to do, but more so what she wanted to do. Ways for her to engage in the kitchen, be able to work, and be able to fulfill her roles. And her job. So we really say great job and congratulate you on your hard work.
Hi y'all, I'm Unju and I'm presenting the award for documentation, and I'm very, very pleased to present it to Team 903 Waterlogged Frogs. We loved not only your very intense market research, but also your intense documentation, your inclusion of handwritten feedback from your co-designers, quotes, and your 50 pages of documentation. Congratulations.
Hi, this is Raquel. I want to echo the praise and thanks for each of the teams to compete. All of you have made a tangible difference in people's lives, so thank you. And we at the How Innovation Center would love to stay in touch, so please feel free to find me on LinkedIn and let's talk. The award that I'll be announcing is for feasibility, and the winners of that award are Team 330, Kriegas, for making an innovative product that works, a tangible auditory solution that meets needs both in terms of technical aspects and as well as fashion and inclusivity. So thank you and congratulations to that team.
Hi, I'm Bob Shin. It's my great pleasure to announce the winner for the innovation category. The winner is Team 305 Senior Buddy for medical report digest application. First of all, I think this is a product that's actually useful for anyone, not just their grandmother, right? And so I think there's just a huge potential applications for everyday use. I mean, I don't understand half the things I read when I read my medical report. On top of that, I think they add a translation aspect to it, which was fantastic. And then throughout the whole product development, they had a lot of interactions, and they were able to update they will make the rapid updates, and so we come up with a really nice product. But using ChatGPT for good use like this, that's fantastic. So, great job.
All right, and also let's give a hand of applause for our judges for all their hard work and figuring things, deciding between all these really, really wonderful teams. And also, round of applause for you all for making it all the way here to MIT, doing such amazing work throughout this year. And for, of course, the folks on Zoom, doing the amazing work and joining us remotely from around the country. Thank you for all of your efforts as well. All right, so you can feel free to have a seat. All right, so we have a couple of just quick wrap-up things. We have a closing set of remarks from one of our Beaverworks lab managers, Joel Grimm. And then I'll say something quick after that, and then we can take a group picture.
Hello, my name is Joel Grimm. I'm here at Beaverworks to give you a little background about Beaverworks and maybe provide your next challenge. Beaverworks is a collaboration between MIT Lincoln Laboratory and MIT School of Engineering. I'll come back to collaboration in just a minute, but would like to tell you about Beaverworks and why that's important. What is Beaverworks? Beaverworks is an idea at MIT where ideas are encouraged, supported, just to see where they go. The idea of Beaverworks was started by our director, Bob Shin. It's just one of those ideas at MIT. So Beaverworks is also a place created by Lincoln Laboratory and MIT by collaboration, for collaboration. But places serve many purposes, some by design, some by accident. For collaboration, for classrooms, for building prototypes, the idea that we can take real-world problems that we see at Lincoln Lab and challenge MIT students to develop new and unique solutions, researching, testing, prototyping, as they learn how to be scientists and engineers, is one of the goals of MIT Beaverworks. An idea is just an idea until you build it, as some of you have found out this during this challenge. And shops are where they go from ideas to prototypes. So much is learned in the process of creating and building. As collaboration is the key to innovation, we want collaboration between scientists and students to inspire great things and to do more and to go farther with those ideas. We hope that Beaverworks inspires people to do great things that lead to more great things, like the Beaverworks Summer Institute. It's a place at MIT where ideas are encouraged and brought to life, just like at MIT. It was started in 2016 in response to a challenge to create a program that uses the MIT hands-on approach of collaborating, working together, solving problems, and bringing college-level curriculum in computer science and AI technologies to high school. This is what BWSI is at its core. For example, our first year with the Autonomous Race Car Grand Prix Challenge, 46 students. It was so successful, it grew and grew. Flash to our 7th year in 2022, being able to pivot to a virtual program, still growing, adding content, creating additional programs through collaboration. We can share the curriculum. We increase the impact of BWSI through programs like the challenges, like the Build a CubeSat Challenge, like the Create Challenge that's here today with you. So for the future students and educators, and that includes all of you mentors, we hope that you continue to come back and see opportunities like the Beaverworks Summer Institute and other programming, other challenges that we're going to have, and continue to explore where your ideas take you. Finally, we know that Beaverworks is transformational, providing opportunities for students to learn, grow, and grow farther and faster than they thought they could. We're hoping that you're inspired to grow your ideas and see where they take you. Thank you.
All right, that's more eloquent than I could say. All right, so just to wrap up, I just want to thank the sponsors that we have for this, this excellent curriculum, this excellent course. We have, of course, the MIT School of Engineering, MIT Lincoln Laboratory, and the Patrick J. McGovern Foundation, who have provided the resources that let us really run this curriculum. Really, this course is run by a bunch of support from MIT Lincoln Laboratory. We have Sigrid in the back, who's been helping out a lot for this stuff. Smruti in the back, who's been doing amazing work for us as well. Some of you, actually probably a lot of you have talked to Chrissy. I forgot to mention she's actually not here because she's, I think, on her way to a wedding. So I guess those only happen every once in a while. So we'll forgive her for that. And then we take just a little bit of my time to let us do this. So we're doing some. I think we're hitting above our weight for the amount of time and effort that we have to be able to put into this. So this, of course, is also thanks to you all and all the effort that you've put in. Really, this would not have been possible without you. And of course, today's event, the running of all of it, would not have been possible at all without the help of the folks in the back, AV and MVP Video Productions, so that we'll actually be able to look back on this in the future. The videos will, of course, I think they either are already uploaded online or they will be very soon. The recording for today will also be uploaded. So yeah, thank you all very much for coming. Feel free to hang around. Actually, sorry, one thing. Like I said, we're going to take a group picture outside, and then we can come back in and feel free to hang out. But if anybody wants to go do that, we're going to head out to do that now.